He throws a pass, the stadium stutters, and in a 3-second chain of chaos, the whole game rewrites itself. Jalen Hurts didn't just have a bad night. He produced the kind of sequence you show in film rooms for months: an interception, a scramble for the ball, a recovery, and then another fumble that lands the turnover back in enemy hands. The play was weird, ugly, unforgettable, and by Elias Sports Bureau accounting, historic. Hurts became the first NFL player since at least 1978 to record 2 turnovers on the same play. The scoreboard says overtime loss 22-19 Chargers. The stat sheet says 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, 1 fumble, 21 of 40 for 240 yards, no touchdowns. But numbers alone don't capture how the game felt from the inside. The eerie momentum swing, the rack of small errors that compounded into a collapse, and a team that looked, for the first time all season, vulnerable in a way it hadn't been when it rode the spirals of Jalen's arm to a title. Let's rewind to the moment everyone will talk about. 3rd and 2 at the Los Angeles 21, a middle-of-the-field throw intended for A.J. Brown. Hurts puts it out there. Deshaun Hand, a defensive lineman showing instincts like a safety, snatches it. The play should end with a turnover and a punt. Instead, it becomes a jumble. Hand gets hit, fumbles, Hurts dives on the loose ball and somehow recovers it, stands up, and then, maybe in panic or trying to salvage momentum, spills it again, and the Chargers scoop it up. 2 turnovers on 1 snap. It's a moment that rewrites the psychological ledger for both teams. Electrifying for LA, soul-testing for Philly. You can parse responsibility across the roster all day, and there's truth in that. A.J. Brown's post-game honesty, "we all have our hand in that pocket," matters. A very catchable pass across the middle slipped through a receiver's hands. Offensive line protection wobbled at critical moments. Play design sometimes invited tight windows. Attribution is messy, and football is the most communal of chaotic sports. But for the quarterback, turnovers are the signature people read. You throw interceptions and the headlines land on you. That's the ledger Hurts carries in public. What's disconcerting is how rare this kind of meltdown was for Hurts. He's a weathered competitor, built on the kind of calm that carries locker rooms. This season, he had been efficient, meticulous, the kind of quarterback you bank on to make the right play in the muck. To see him implode into a 5-turnover night is jolting, because it's statistically abnormal and because it arrived at such a high-leverage moment for the Eagles' title defense. There are layers to what went wrong. First, pressure. The Chargers dialed up timing and heat when it mattered. Hurts was hurried, and hurried throws look like decisions made in cooler heads' absence. Under duress, micromechanics break. Feet are late, eyes skip progressions, the ball comes out at angles that favor tipped passes. Second, execution. Receivers miss the windows that make high-level throws safe. A.J. Brown could have hauled one in across the middle and altered the sequel. Third, bizarre luck. The 2-turnover play is not a mistake you can easily coach away. It's a freak combination of contact, bounce, and instinct. Yet coaching matters. How you scheme to limit those exact chaos moments. How you build protections that give your QB options when the pocket narrows. Now the stakes. The Eagles still sit atop the NFC East at 8-5, but that comfortable margin just shrank. Momentum is a living thing in football, and Dallas's recent surge matters. The Cowboys are breathing down Philly's neck. 4 games remain. A team that won the Super Bowl last season now has to wrestle with the possibility that mental seams are showing. It's an ugly thought, but the NFL is built on small margins. A championship season is rarely undone by a single night, but it is often marred by a string of nights where correction never catches up to error. So what does Philly do? First, they must treat the film room like a triage unit. This isn't about moralizing. It's about specific mechanics. Footwork under pressure, progression, discipline, and catch point optimization for receivers. Put Hurts in situations where he makes the quickest, highest percentage throws early in the sequence to rebuild rhythm. Rebalance protections without neutering his mobility. He is still valuable when he runs. And make the training sessions feel surgical. Quick release drills, pocket presence reps, and simulated chaos that turns panic into practiced response. Leadership will also be tested. Hurts must own the mistakes without letting them become his identity. A.J. Brown's public defense, admitting he could have made the catch, is the kind of locker room balm that matters. The offense needs a tone where accountability doesn't crush confidence. Locker room psychology can flip a team. Leadership that reads errors clearly and then drills corrections relentlessly is what separates a blip from a collapse. Coaches face chess moves too. Play calling should limit low percentage throws on early downs and hostile resistance moments. Use motion and max protect looks to create cleaner reads. Sprinkle in quick game scripts, screens, and RPOs that let Hurts settle. If protection is the enemy tonight, then structure becomes the cure. The staff must also consider when to lean on the run game, not for its own sake, but to keep defenses honest and to reduce the heat on Hurts. There's also the narrative ripple for the league. Opposing coordinators now watch tape and smell opportunity. If one of football's best quarterbacks can cough up 5 turnovers in a single night, then the idea that any team can be rattled gains traction. The Chargers will ride a wave of confidence. Divisional foes will probe. The margin for error across the league narrows, and every opponent will test Philly where it believes Hurts is fragile. But let's be measured. The Eagles still have the talent and structure to recover. What champions do is normalize difficult moments and then erase them with disciplined work. This loss becomes a pivot point if the team responds like champions. Fix technique, tighten communication, and come back with a performance that makes tonight look like an aberration. The alternative is slippage, a week of headlines that snowballs into a finish that leaves players and fans with regret. The human element is real. Hurts will sleep on this. He will replay it. He is a competitor who knows how to respond. The critical measure is how he frames the moment. Does he let it harden him into hesitation, or does he let it sharpen his focus into improvements that show up on tape and on Sundays? Wednesday's practice will matter. Thursday's walkthrough will matter. But the real proof comes in the next game clock. Can the Eagles take quick, methodical steps to ensure the same chaos can't recur? That's the question every coach in the league will be watching, because in the NFL, you're rarely as fragile as one night makes you, until you are. For now, the headline is historic and horrifying. 2 turnovers on 1 play, 5 total for the night, and an overtime loss that leaves the defending champions with a very human problem to solve. The plot hasn't collapsed, it's a bend in the road. But if the Eagles want to stay champions, today isn't an excuse. It's a lesson. The difference between a champion and a pretender is how you work after a night like this. Jalen Hurts becomes first NFL player to record 2 turnovers on the same play. Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts had a night to forget on Monday Night Football, committing 5 turnovers in a 22-19 overtime loss to the Los Angeles Chargers and making history in the process. Hurts finished at 21 of 40 for 240 yards with no touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 1 fumble. The most bizarre sequence came in the second quarter on a 3rd and 2 from the Chargers' 21. Hurts' pass was intercepted by defensive lineman Dashawn Hand, who then fumbled. Hurts scooped the ball up only to fumble it right back, and the Chargers ultimately recovered, turning a single play into 2 turnovers by the same player. ESPN's play-by-play log captured the chaos. The interception by Hand was followed by a fumble recovered briefly by Hurts, who then lost the ball again before Los Angeles recovered deep in Eagles territory. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, Hurts is the first player in NFL history to commit 2 turnovers on the same play, a record that Elias tracks back to 1978. Hurts' final interception in overtime sealed the Chargers' win. The loss dropped Philadelphia to 8-5, while Los Angeles improved to 9-4, leaving the Eagles' offense and ball security issues under heavy scrutiny with 4 regular season games remaining.